Okay, so you're getting ready to speak on Ephesians 4:29.
Right.
And, the whole be kind thing.
Yeah.
It's been done, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, you want something a little more
Uh-huh.
that your congregation or your group hasn't really heard before.
Yeah, they want to hear something new, something fresh.
Some new insights.
Yeah, maybe even a little controversial.
Yeah, exactly. Something that'll spark some good conversation.
Exactly.
Aren't
You've
we?
come to the right place.
Okay.
We've been looking at all these different sermons from pastors all over, really digging into Ephesians 4:29.
Okay, so one pastor
Yeah.
used this analogy about, like, moldy food.
Moldy food.
Yeah, to kind of show how, like, bad talk or unwholesome talk,
Oh, right.
can really affect relationships.
Interesting.
It says, like, if you leave moldy food in the fridge,
Okay.
it just, like, makes everything around it bad.
Oh, I see.
Is that a good analogy?
You mean it's a powerful image, but is negativity really that contagious? I mean,
That's a good question.
it makes you think, like, how much does one person's
Yeah.
bad attitude, spoil the bunch?
Yeah.
Makes you think.
It really makes you think about, like, the dynamics of a group,
Yeah.
like, how much influence does one person really have?
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
fascinating.
It is. It is
Yeah.
another one that we were looking at.
Okay.
It took kind of a more linguistic approach,
This linguistic approach.
Yeah.
Okay.
They were looking at the Greek word for slander
Right.
in Ephesians 4:29.
Interesting. So what did they find?
Well, what's really interesting is that
Yeah.
the Greek word there seems to imply that there's this real sense of intention to harm,
Wow.
It's not just careless gossip.
So it's really like
Yeah.
a calculated attack.
Yes, like you're using words as weapons.
Ooh, that's heavy.
Right.
If words can be weapons,
Yeah.
then
What about the people on the other end?
yeah, like how do we help people defend themselves
Hmm.
against verbal attacks?
Wow, it really makes you reconsider that whole
What?
sticks and stones thing.
Exactly.
Words can really hurt.
Sometimes even more than physical ones, I think.
Absolutely.
It's true.
So another thing that a lot of these different sermons
Okay.
were talking about was this idea of
Yeah.
shifting your mindset from
Yeah.
what do I get
What do I get?
to what do I give,
What do I give? Love
in
that.
relationships.
Right.
So instead of thinking about, like,
Uh-huh.
how other people's words affect me,
Yeah.
it's like, how are my words
All right. How are your words affecting others?
affecting others?
It's a good point.
Right.
Yeah.
And how can I use my words
Yeah.
to build other people up
Yeah.
rather than tear them down?
I love that.
Right.
Yeah, but
You
how do we
live-
do that?
How do we do that practically?
Yeah, practically. How do we do that?
Especially, when you're dealing with, like, difficult people
Yeah.
or difficult situations.
Oh, for sure. Like, how do we put that into practice?
Yeah, because we've all met those people who, like,
Right.
they use truth as a weapon,
Yeah, those people.
One sermon actually
Yeah.
tackled this head on.
Interesting.
They analyzed this clip
A clip of what?
of the Westboro Baptist Church.
Oh, wow. That's a controversial one.
Yeah.
I'm curious. How did they approach that?
Well, they contrasted it
Okay.
with a skilled apologist.
Yay.
And it was really interesting to see the difference.
So what was the difference?
One was all about condemnation,
Okay.
and the other was really trying to invite conversation,
Wow.
even with people
Yeah.
that had really different views.
That's a good illustration
Yeah.
of how even when we're speaking truth,
Uh-huh.
the tone and the approach
Yeah.
can make a huge difference.
Yeah, could make or break the whole thing.
It really can.
Right.
Yeah, and it makes me think about
Yeah?
how important that is for pastors
Yeah.
and Bible study leaders
Yeah.
to really model that.
Yeah, to create that space
Yeah.
where people can ask questions and
Yeah.
wrestle with their doubts
Mhm.
and not be afraid to, like,
Yeah.
engage with those tough topics.
Exactly.
And another one I thought
Right.
was really cool
Okay.
was the one that talked about
Yeah.
alerting people to, like, spiritual truths.
Oh, spiritual truths. Okay.
And they used this Old Testament image of a watchman.
A Watchmen.
Yeah. On the wall,
Yeah.
warning people about danger.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
That's a powerful image.
Yeah.
I like that.
Like, our words can be protective.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But then that also kind of raises the question of, is it always our place
Yeah.
to be that watchman?
Mhm.
Like, where do we
That's a good point.
draw the line, between
Yeah.
helpful guidance
Mhm.
and just being critical
Right.
or judgmental?
That's That's a tough one.
It is a tough one.
You know, it's about finding that balance
Right.
of speaking the truth,
Yeah.
but doing it in love.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I think that's something that's really important for all of us to think about.
Especially if you're in, like, a teaching role
Right.
or a leadership role.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
Something to consider.
For sure.
So speaking of leadership,
Uh-huh.
one pastor talked about something that's become super popular lately.
What's that?
It's this whole idea of
Right.
speaking things into existence.
Oh, yeah.
The whole manifestation trend.
Yeah, yeah. What
Ah.
did they say about that?
I'm curious to hear what they had to say.
Did they, like, support it?
Yeah.
Or were they like, no, that's not a thing?
Right. Did they debunk it?
Yeah.
What was their take?
Well, they didn't really do either of those things. They brought it back to, like, the creation story,
Okay.
you know, and how God spoke the world into being.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so they were basically saying that we don't have that same power,
Right. We're not God.
but we can still shape the world around us
Okay.
with our words.
Interesting. So it's not about trying to, like, control the universe with our words.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's about recognizing that our words do have power
Yes.
and choosing to use that power for good.
Yeah, that's good.
I like that.
It is.
So that's a much better way to look at it
Uh-huh.
than some of the other ways I've heard it described.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, that's cool.
And I think that actually connects really well
Okay.
with that analogy we were talking about earlier.
Which one?
Remember the tuning fork
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and the clashing cymbals?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I loved that one.
Yeah.
That was so good.
Beneficial speech is like a tuning fork.
Uh-huh.
It brings harmony. That's right.
Clarity.
And then unwholesome talk is like these clashing cymbals.
Yeah, it's just noise.
It's just noise.
Yeah, just making noise.
It's so true.
I love that.
And it's such a good picture of
Yeah.
how our words can impact the people around us.
Makes you think, what kind of sound am I making?
Exactly. What kind of sound are you creating with your words?
Yeah.
It's a good question to ask ourselves.
It is a good question.
Yeah. Yeah, it really makes you, like, stop and think about what you're putting out there.
Not just like the words, but like the whole vibe.
Exactly. Exactly. And, you know, going back to that Westboro Baptist Church analysis,
Yeah.
that was a bold move.
It was.
Yeah, to use that as an example.
Yeah, I thought so too, but
But it was really effective.
it was.
Yeah, it showed the difference
Oh.
between truth with condemnation
Yeah.
and truth with, like, an open hand.
With invitation.
Yeah, invitation, exactly.
Have a conversation.
And I think, you know, for pastors,
Yeah.
for Bible study leaders, it's so important to model
To model that.
that approach.
Yeah.
Like, create that space
That safe space.
where people can, you know,
Yeah.
ask the hard question.
Wrestle with doubt.
Yeah, not feel like they're going to get, like,
Cut down.
shut down or judged,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, that's so good.
It's about creating that culture
Yeah.
of curiosity and grace,
I love that.
you know, rather than fear and judgment.
So good.
And I think that's really what Ephesians 4:29 is all about.
It is.
Yeah.
It's about building each other up,
Yeah.
not tearing each other down.
Exactly. It's not about avoiding the tough conversations,
Yeah.
but it's about how we have those conversations,
Yeah.
you know, in a way that honors both truth and love.
That's good.
Yeah.
I really like that sermon that talked about the Watchmen on the wall.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was just such a powerful image
It is powerful.
to show, like, our responsibility to warn others.
Danger.
Yeah, but, like, when does that become about controlling others,
That's a good point.
you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
or imposing your own
Right.
view? I mean, thankfully,
Yeah.
the pastor who talked about that acknowledged that tension,
Okay, good.
you know,
Yeah.
and they challenged the congregation to think about how they can be watchmen
Yeah. Yeah.
without being, like, self-righteous
Right.
or judgmental.
Yes. Yes.
So, good stuff.
That's such an important distinction.
It is.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not about being like the morality police.
Exactly.
You know, and
Like-
telling everyone what to do.
Yeah, controlling others.
But it's about like
Yeah.
offering guidance.
When it's asked for.
Yes. Yes.
And speaking out against
to
injustice.
see it.
Yeah.
It's about discernment. You know, knowing when to speak,
Yeah.
when to listen,
Yeah.
when to offer advice,
Yeah.
when to just be there.
Just be present.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that takes practice.
It does. It's a muscle, right?
It's a muscle. We got to work it out.
You got to exercise it.
Exactly.
So what about that sermon
Okay.
that talked about speaking things into existence?
Oh, yeah. The whole manifestation thing.
Yeah.
What did you think about that one?
I thought it was interesting
Yeah.
how they tied it back to
Yeah.
the creation story.
Yeah, yeah.
And they were careful to point out, like,
Uh-huh.
we're not God.
Right.
We don't have that same power.
Right. We can't just, like,
Right.
speak something into being.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it'll magically happen.
Yeah.
But they did say that our words have power,
They do.
you know?
Yeah.
And we need to use that power for good.
It's about aligning our words with God's will.
Yes. That's a good way to put it. It's not about, like, trying to control everything.
No.
But it's about partnering with God,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
And using our words
Huh.
to bring about his purposes.
What's good?
You know?
Yeah.
And I think that ties in really well with
right.
that tuning fork analogy.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like,
It does.
if we want to create harmony in our relationships, in the world,
Yeah.
we need to be mindful of the sound that we're creating.
What kind of sound are we making?
Yeah, are we speaking words that build up or tear down?
Yeah.
You know?
Encourage or discourage?
Right.
Yeah. Life or death?
Big questions.
Big questions.
Yeah, but I think they're questions that get to the heart
of it.
of what Ephesians 4:29
Yes.
is really all about.
It's not just about, like, avoiding bad words.
No, it's not about just saying nice things.
It's deeper than that.
It's deeper than that.
It's about recognizing that power.
Yeah.
And how we use it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it should reflect God's love and grace.
It should.
Yeah.
It's a high calling.
It is a high calling.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is. It's a high calling.
It is.
And something I noticed, kind of a theme
in
a lot of these sermons, is this idea that it's not just about willpower.
Right.
You can't just grit your teeth and, like, force yourself to speak the right way.
Right. You can't white knuckle it.
You can't.
That's not just about, like, trying harder.
No, several of them actually pointed to self-control.
Self-control.
Being a fruit of the Spirit.
Right, a gift from God.
Yeah.
Something he gives us to help us choose those words that build others up.
Which is good news.
It is good news.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't have to do this on our own.
It's not all on us?
No.
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 Thank goodness.
But, I mean, how do we cultivate that fruit?
That's a good question.
You know, how do we get better at letting the Holy Spirit guide our words?
How do we become more sensitive
to
his leading?
Exactly.
You know, in that area.
One pastor said it starts with listening.
Oh, interesting.
You know.
So before we even think about speaking, we got to learn to listen.
Really listen.
Really listen.
Yeah.
And not just to the words, but to the heart behind the words.
Yes, exactly.
I like that.
Which means we need to have empathy.
Yes.
We need to have patience. And we need to be willing to put aside our own agendas.
Ooh, that's a hard one.
That is a tough one.
Sometimes.
Yeah, especially when we feel strongly about something.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
Yeah, when we're passionate about something.
But that's where I think that moldy food analogy comes in.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah. You mean like how negativity can spread?
Yeah, if we go into a conversation and we're already, like, spewing negativity.
Right.
It's like we're bringing that moldy container into the fridge.
You're contaminating the whole thing.
And it's just going to make everything worse.
Exactly.
But if we go in with humility, with grace, seeking to understand, not to judge.
To build a bridge.
It creates space for healing.
It does, and for growth.
It's amazing how our words can either poison or purify.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good.
The atmosphere around us.
That's what Ephesians 4:29 is all about.
I think so, too.
You know?
It's about being agents of purification.
Yeah.
Speaking words that bring life and healing.
And that's not just for pastors.
No.
Or for Bible study leaders.
It's for all of us.
It's for all of us.
Yeah, and in every area of our lives.
Yeah.
How are we using our words? In our families.
Yeah.
In our workplaces.
In our communities.
In our communities, yeah.
What kind of legacy?
Ooh, good question.
You want to leave? What kind of legacy
with our words
do we want to leave with our words?
That's something for everyone to think about.
Yeah, that's a good one to ponder.
You know, as we wrap up this deep dive on Ephesians 4:29, let's all commit to being intentional.
Yes.
About our words.
Intentional with our words.
Speaking the truth in love.
Yes.
And using our voices to make the world a better place.
Absolutely. I love that.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on this journey.
Thanks for being here.
May your words be a source of life and hope.
Amen to that.